Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today here at another WinBidPro webinar, and happy Veterans Day to you all. Sorry we have to work, but we're all used to it, I guess. So today we're going to talk about the CAD tool called DoubleCAD, and it's something I found that's it's a free tool that a company called IMSI Design makes, and let me show you their website real quick here. So this is their website. They actually are the makers of TurboCAD, which has been around for a long time. I downloaded TurboCAD I don't even know if it was, I think it was TurboCAD Deluxe 21, this one. I think it costs about $130, something like that. So I'll be doing a webinar on this program as well. I guess the advantage of this program is it works with a lot of different formats of CAD files, as well as doing 3D. You know, luckily for storefront, you really don't need 3D. I think a lot of the architects are getting more into 3D now, but it's something that we'll obviously have to get more involved in the future. But for now, 2D is more than enough for most people for the storefront work we do. So years ago we used to use a program called DesignCAD back in the 90s, and I guess this company either bought it, or I don't remember if they were the original publisher of it, but anyway, it's a reputable company, and it's very cool that they have a free tool, and it's DoubleCAD. So imsidesign.com is where you can find it. And DoubleCAD, the icon looks like this when you install it. It's called XT5. The only thing you have to do to download the free version is, I think, enter your email address and your name. Obviously, they want to send you emails and try and get you to pay for stuff. But there's even a pro version of DoubleCAD that you can pay for. I'm sure it's pretty inexpensive, but I just like the way this one works. It's pretty intuitive, and it works with our files very well. So there's other CAD programs that don't work with older versions of AutoCAD files, and that's something that is a deal breaker for us here with WinBidPro. We actually made our program work with older AutoCAD files just to give customers that have older AutoCAD the ability to open our files. So we kind of did that intentionally. So one of the things I want to go over first is the drawing settings. So if you're going to do shop drawings in GDS, you need to be familiar with this screen here. A few of the key things are how you want the files saved. So we can do either DWG, which is the native AutoCAD format, and I believe we're doing 2000 to 2003 format when this is checked or selected. DXF is a design interchange format, which is a very universal, generic kind of CAD format that any CAD program can open. So there's even some drawing programs that can open DXF files. So it's nice because there's no tie to AutoCAD, even though they might have been behind this original format. It doesn't change. It's not proprietary. You know, like I say, anything can use it. And then, of course, PDF. If you want to just send a file to someone that doesn't have CAD, they can obviously view it and print it in PDF. So that's real important, knowing what format file to use. So we're going to be using DWGs. And arranging details. So if most of the manufacturers we have detailed drawings with. There's a few that don't, that are assigned and configured with their framing systems. So we'll be touching on that as well. So it's good to maximize details per sheet because that puts them all in a clump. You can move them around as one piece, and you can move them independently if you want, but it just saves time when you're working with details. So same thing goes with maximizing elevations per sheet. If you have a bunch of small little window openings and you need to work with them to do shop drawings, you're going to want to combine them on a sheet because it just makes it that much easier to select a few drawings at once, move them around, or not have to copy and paste to put them on one page. So So that's important. Now, so sheet size is important also. Depending on what kind of printer you have, you can either print, your basic printer is 8.5 by 11. A lot of printers can do 8.5 by 14. And then kind of ideally for the most affordable shop drawing printer would be tabloid, 11 by 17. So, and obviously full 24 by 36 is like blueprint sized shop drawing. So we'll just leave it on 8.5 by 11 and you'll see what that means. But so all these things are important. Obviously your scale is important. That determines how many elevations can fit on a sheet and if they're going to fit to scale and all that. And then there's all these other settings that have to do with the bubbles and the colors. Let's see, just different things with the drawings. This is showing the glass labels on the screen, glass sizes, things like that. So the main thing we're interested in is this shop drawing settings area right here. So let's leave it at that, quarter scale, DWGs, 8.5 by 11, and we're going to maximize both elevations and details. So we're using the TrueLight catalog right here, and they have a good catalog that's configured very thoroughly with details, etc. So I have a job here with 3 elevations, and there's a pair of doors there, single door, not too big, about 200 inches wide on that one, 150 on that roughly, and 180 on this. So here's what's going to happen if we do shop drawings. So we're going to click on shop drawings, and that's basically going to compile these drawings and make them, arrange them for the drawing files, the CAD drawing files. So let's do that. Now the problem is, since we have 8.5 by 14, or I'm sorry, 8.5 by 11 is our paper size, it knows that it can't fit all those at quarter scale on one sheet. So we're kind of not getting much advantage for our maximizing elevations per sheet. So just to show you the difference here, let's go back to drawing settings and say that we have an 11 by 17 printer. And with elevations of this size at quarter scale, it should be a different story when we hit shop drawings. So it should be able to combine these now and put them all on one page. So here they are on one sheet. It's basically because our paper size grew, the elevations can fit better. And then we can go to next set. And you'll notice this in a lot of the details for different manufacturers. It's kind of a challenge working with details from different sources because it's hard to tell what scale they were created in. Especially when they're DWG files. We don't have a lot of access to the metadata, the actual information in the files. So I guess we're kind of treating them all like they're the same size, but in actuality they're not. So sometimes they'll show up tiny, sometimes they'll show up normal. It just depends on what the source is, which is the whole reason why learning your own CAD program is a huge thing, because you can basically fix this. You know, you can say, I want to scale this, or I just resize them to however you want, and then they look exactly how you'd like. So you're not having to work with something like this. So that's one of the reasons it's important to know a CAD program. So now our software comes with a CAD program, and we can actually change what CAD program our software uses by going to drawing settings. We can hit change CAD program. And I'm going to go ahead and hit restore to put it back to the standard default one. Now this is a free program that the company we buy our software tools from that gives us the ability to draw elevations in our program. They have a little free program that they put together. The problem is the company's in Greece, and although they have a good tool, their little CAD program has some problems, and it's hard to get any help from the people in Greece. So it works, but it's not ideal. So here's what that one's like. So the way you open up the CAD program is just this little CAD button here. And you may know this already, but whatever drawing is showing on our screen here will get opened when we hit CAD. So this is the free, we call it new CAD because we had to change it a tiny bit. But it's got all the tools and everything, but unfortunately there's some things that don't work right. It's not that intuitive to me. I mean, I'm clicking on objects here, which is good, or entities they call them in CAD. So if you're looking at just an elevation drawing, everything's in vectors, I guess. So it's all, horizontals are like little rectangles, verticals are little rectangles. Everything that we draw is kind of rectangles, so unless it's a rake, I guess, and you get into more angled stuff. But this is what it looks like when you open the free one that's included with WinBidPro. And like I say, I'm not that pleased with it. I know it's better than nothing, but I would rather use something like DoubleCAD, so that's why. Sorry about that, I hit the wrong button. Let's go back one more here. So what we're going to do, let's say we've installed DoubleCAD. It installs like any other program. You download it and install it. I want to actually tell GDS or WinBidPro that I want to use that DoubleCAD program. So I'm going to browse for it. And I remember that when it was installing, it put it in the program files x86. And now I'm looking for the IMSI design. That's that company that makes it. It's called DoubleCAD XT5. We open that up. We open up programs. And all we're looking for is their executable file right here. So we click that file and say that's the one we want. It confirms that it kind of selected it here and where it is. Now we can hit close. So now and let's go ahead and do our shop drawings. So now when I go to click on the CAD link here, it's going to open up whatever I show on the screen. There it compiled our details in the CAD program of my choice. So let's see what happens here. And it's a little bit slow the first time you open it, and you'll see what it does here. So it has a little screen that it's kind of a splash screen, I guess you call it. So it's telling you about their Pro version, tells you where to go for the website, and it's got little tips or something. I could click on this. Did you know kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. And another reason that this is better than the one that we include with WinBidPro is it has documentation. So the one that we got for free never came with any documentation. In fact, the help just doesn't even work, I think, which is not good. So so here's what I like. And by no means am I a CAD expert or a draftsman or anything close to that. So all I've done is figure out how to use this, and I just want to pass that on to you guys. One thing I like here is we've got all three of our elevations that are a little bit spread out. But before we do anything, you'll notice, let's say I zoom in, you'll notice the letters for the glass are nice and big. And when you zoom, you're just using the scroll wheel on your mouse. And wherever you point the crosshairs, it's kind of, that's the origin of the zoom. So it's kind of a way to manipulate how centered your drawings are. Like if I zoom over here, it goes to the right. If I zoom over here, it's going to go to the left. If I point down here as the origin, it's going to go up. So that's just I think that even works that way in our software. One thing about CAD software is it's very similar. If you're familiar with one CAD program, it's going to be real easy to learn another one. Every CAD program has a little command prompt down here, command window. So CAD commands are very similar. AutoCAD was, I think, the originator of CAD. So everyone else has kind of copied what they did and just made little changes, but the concept's the same. They try and use the same terminology. They try and use the same commands. There might be some variations, but it's nice to learn something that's a little more beginning level like this program, get comfortable with it, and then if you jump right into AutoCAD, I guarantee you'll have a good head start, and the learning curve's a lot shorter. So, so one thing I was going to point out was you'll notice that our glass labels and our elevation and framing system names here are pretty legible, but our dimensions are tiny. So for some reason this software, that's one thing about DoubleCAD, this software doesn't give you large enough dimensions, but fortunately it's fairly easy to fix. Now one thing about CAD, and I like this program because you can just hit Control-A and it selects every object on the screen, which is really cool. So you'll notice that we don't have our details in here yet. I want to do this fixing the dimensions thing before we bring in our details. So I hit Control A. Another option is I can drag or I can just click. What we've done is we've grouped or blocked all the different elevations. So I can click on these. I can click. I can hold down the Shift key. Actually, maybe the Control key. No? Well, it's different when they're, okay. So here's another thing. I can drag. There's a few different ways to do everything, unfortunately. I can drag and select. That was the same thing as hitting Control A. So if I just click off of it somewhere or even hit it, that didn't work. So yeah, there we go. Or you can hit Escape usually. Escape is a big key in CAD software. So like I say, I can either drag. If I only wanted to select a couple, I could drag. Where are we here? You kind of have to get around everything. In like if I tried to select just by going through the middle, it doesn't like that. So if I select by going outside of it, make sure everything I want is inside this box, then it lets me do it. So the other option is Control A. Now, one thing we have to do before we can manipulate some of the properties of these drawings is explode the drawings. So what we've done when we create a maximized elevation sheet is we've grouped all the elevations into one group. Or one block, I guess you'd call it. So we've made everything easy. So now the reason we did that is because it makes it easy to move things around in one piece. Like you'll see, if I click off of here and I click this, everything's selected at once. So all these elevations are blocked as one. Each elevation is like one unit. It's nice when we want to move things around like this. But if I want to manipulate a property like something like the dimension size, the text size of the dimension, it's not going to let me do that. So in order to do that, I select all my elevations I want to manipulate, and then I need to explode those. So explode is a common CAD term. We're going to explode those drawings. It doesn't really do anything, but you'll notice if I click off, ignore that error. I'm not really sure what that one is. If I click off, I can actually click individual pieces now, which is good. But what I want to do is I want to change the text size of the dimensions, right? So I can go over to Style Manager here, down here, or I can right-click anywhere in this box, and I can go to Properties. I like right-clicking because that gives you an idea what else is there, which there's a lot. So now we want to go to Format. So when I go to Format, luckily all the things that are important to me are coming up. So dimension, size, scale, I'm not too worried about. What I am worried about is the height of the text. So the height of the text is set at 1 inch now, and this is all relative to the units of the drawing. So 1 inch is kind of too small. So what I've found is 2 or even 2.5 looks pretty good. So I can do 2.5. And you can see this bottom window here on the left, bottom left window. It gives me a representation of the change. So if I go to 1, it looks small. If I go to 3, it looks big. So something in between is like 2.5. So now everything that's selected should be changed to this new value. And you'll notice that the dimensions did get a little bigger. So I'm going to click out of this. And now when I zoom in, they look pretty good relative to the labels and everything else. So we've just fixed our dimensions. You saw how easy it was to click something. Now actually what I can do is I can either regroup these or just leave them exploded. Leaving them exploded doesn't really hurt, except if I do want to move a whole elevation now, then I have to select it like that. And it's really easy to move once I do that. But I have to like drag around and select it first. So now if I want to regroup something, let's go ahead and regroup this whole group of 3 elevations. It should make these all one group. So I can go up to, there's a lot of different menus here. For now, Format's an important one. Modify is an important one. dimension is, but our drawings are already dimensioned, so we don't really have to worry about that. So all we want to do is make a group. And I'm not sure what the difference between make group and make block is, but that's a good one. Because I'm pretty sure if I make group, then all I have to do is click on one elevation, and then I can drag it around, or I can drag that whole group around. So that's kind of cool. So if I didn't want to do that again, I could always go over here to explode. I can't remember if explode is a right-click option here. Yeah, I didn't see it right away. So, and once you get into something like this and you kind of get comfortable with just doing basic things, then you're going to get a little more inquisitive and curious, I think, and want to dig into it a little deeper. And that's actually the ideal way to work with this kind of thing, is just a little bit at a time you kind of learn what you need to learn. You know, don't try and learn everything at once because there's just way too much. Okay, so far what we've done is we've been able to move it around. We've exploded the drawings so that we had access to the dimension text, and then I grouped them all into one thing since they're all kind of where I want them to be and you know, positioned correctly. Now it's time to start working with some details. So you'll notice these details are blocks. So there's a couple things I can do. I can actually drag in individual details. So this is something we've done in our software to make it easier to work with you know, shop drawings. We've made it, you'll notice all the different elevations are individualized over here as different blocks, and then each of the details are their own blocks as well, and there's even some separate details that are blocked out here. So blocks are something you can just insert into your drawing real simply. I can just click and drag. Now what we can also do is look for where the details are, and let's see, that's in FCO, so let's go to, so I'll show you where all this stuff is too, because it's important to know where these things come from if you ever need to access the drawing files directly. So what we saw was easy because the program opened up the drawings and all we did was click CAD. But if you ever need to just open your CAD program, you know, separately and then go in and just open a CAD drawing, you need to know where those drawings are. So now vendor details. So we're in the TrueLight catalog inside WinBidPro. Every catalog that has details will have a vendor details folder. And vendor details are, a lot of times they're organized by system type or whatever code. These are probably their codes that TrueLight uses for the different systems. Sometimes the names are a little more descriptive, but these are all the different details that we're pulling in and have configured in the different systems. So this is the origin of those details. So you could always go through and open individual you know, files anytime. Now what happens when you do the shop drawing tool and it compiles the drawings, remember how we said maximize drawings, maximize details, it's going to create these folders. So when it creates the drawing, the elevation CAD drawings, it puts them in this folder. And inside this folder, it puts a job name folder. And inside the job name folder, it puts the actual drawing file. So this file here is like a lock file. That tells us that we're using this DWG file, and it's kind of a temporary file that the CAD program's using. So we have individual files that I've created before when the maximize button wasn't created or wasn't checked, and then this is the maximize one that combined all the elevations into one file. So this is where that 3-in-1 CAD drawing is coming from. And then if we go back to the TrueLight folder, there's also a folder called GDS detail drawings, and that's the one that's broken out by job, and it has the details in it. So if we go to that folder just by going to File, Open here, you know, the little open icon. I think I clicked it. Yeah. So if we go to that and browse, my computer might be acting a little slow. So we're going to go, that's where the elevation drawings are. Let's go up a couple folders to detail drawings, sample job. So this should be the file that has all the details in it. And the details should be combined. So this is something that I noticed it doing once. It kind of, it opens up a different drawing than we selected. Let's try something else here. Let's go back to our WinBidPro. So none of these CAD programs are perfect, especially the free ones. So there's something weird that I noticed it doing. It didn't open the actual file I was selecting, which I thought was strange. Oh, sorry. So let's go back to here, and we're going to hit Next Set. So if we had 15 elevations and we still told it they were combined, it would create tabs that had, say, elevation 4 to 5 or 6 to 8, things like that. So each one of those would be a set, or a set would be actually a whole group of tabs here, and then you just click on the tabs. So the next group of tabs would be details, and in this case it just combined all the details in one sheet. So let's go ahead and hit CAD again here and see if it opens up another instance of the DoubleCAD program. It might just open the file in the current DoubleCAD. Let's see what it does. So this should do it. See how it's telling it what file to open? It's telling it the actual file name. So yeah, it looks like it opened up its own, another copy of it. Let me minimize this. So right now we've got two, where are we? Oh yeah, I can tell down here with Windows. So I've got two kind of versions of CAD running right now. So the thing I want to try and do is copy and paste. So instead of individually working with these details, and now notice how I don't see the details anymore. I'm going to actually right-click, and there's another common CAD command called Zoom Extents. What that means is it's whatever file or whatever drawings are on the workspace, make them fit on the screen. So that's what we just did here. Now I am going to hit Control-A. So it selects that. I'm not sure why it thinks they're so like vertical. That's kind of strange. And then I'm going to right click, and I think I can copy here. Let's see. Yeah, they give you the icons. I could probably hit Control-C, but let's go ahead and copy. And now I'm going to jump over to this other one, and I'm going to see if it'll paste. So this warning comes up, and I always just hit yes, and basically it lets me do it. So I think to get it out of this weird looking box, I am going to, oh no, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not sure why it made it think it was like that. So here's something else we need to learn. The scaling of the drawings. Now, when I scale, the problem is when you scale your elevation drawings, it's actually changing your dimensions. So you definitely don't want to do that. Like this this elevation here, it's 180 inches wide, right? So if I went and entered a different scale value down here, it's going to show a different width here because it made the elevation bigger, so it's going to change it to like 200 or whatever we change it to. But for details, it doesn't do that. So now notice how I can click the individual details. These aren't really blocked as one group. So, but I can select and move the different details. And then maybe I'll move it over a tiny bit. Now I can select all of them and say move them down. Now with details though, it doesn't, and it must be the way we create our drawings. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about CAD to know why when I scale these it doesn't change the dimensions, but when we scale our drawings it does. I'll try and get more familiar with that stuff later and have some videos covering more advanced CAD things. But for now, it's real easy to, first of all, I can just click and drag, which is totally easy, to make these details bigger. Or I can even go over here and say, I want these to be double. And then I can tab. And let's see, did that work? Let's say 4. Well, no, I thought that used to work, so ignore that. The easiest thing to do is just drag because those are resizing them. So now I've got a decent looking shop drawing page, right? So there's one thing that we haven't done, and that is, so I'm not even going to bother saving that right now. Let's go ahead and close this. But you saw how easy that was, right? So I didn't have to explode these because it already let me kind of work with them individually. I'm not going to need to, if I zoom in, I'm not going to need to click on individual elements here. If I needed to click on, say, this name, this text name of this detail, I'd have to explode the drawing, and then it would let me. So let's just show you that real quick. So if I hit explode on that, now I can click on just that text object. And if I double click on that, then I believe it opens up an edit window. Multi-line text, where did that go? Yeah, and this is something I messed with a little bit but haven't seen. Let's see what we do here. It's thinking edit tool. I think we have to get to a text tool actually to do that. So let's see if we go over here. Define insertion point. Yeah, so I got to a text tool as opposed to just this kind of select tool. And what this is multi-line text. You can see how it's on 2 different lines. So basically it's letting me, add to that now. So I can edit that text object now. Or change, delete it, whatever. So that's kind of what the explode thing does. Now I can say, all right, I'm done messing with that. I think I'm going to group that back. That was under format. And I can just say make block. Oh, I see what make block does. It gives it a name. So I don't really need to do that. I just want to group it again. So now if I click on it, it should select the entire thing again, which is what I want because it makes it a lot easier to move. So, okay. So remember, I can right-click, hit zoom extents right here. Or I believe there's that icon is somewhere else up here. There it is up there. So you'll get familiar with where the icons and tools are and all that kind of thing. So let's just go ahead and quit out of this. I know we're running out of time. I'm going to quit out of this one. I know I said that we'd talk about the border feature. So a few versions ago we added, it used to just say cover here. You can do a cover page and you can do a border. So a lot of the information is the same actually. So the project name would be Beach Grill Cafe. So the address is whatever, Beach Boulevard. And then it fills in some of this stuff. So you'll see, the name of my company, the catalog name, the job name, who's working on it, and revision dates, et cetera, et cetera. So I can actually tell it what size cover page I want to do. And I believe I can tell it what size border. Oh, I think that actually determines the border size too. So we're going to hit create border DWG now. And then we're going to hit, so it shows us that. I can either print that just the way it is from here, or I can hit close. It should have created this file. So let's go ahead and see real quick where it put that. So if I go up to TrueLight, should be under the elevation drawings in the sample job, which it's not. Where does it put that? Well, let's see something here. So another way to see this is to hit show border down here at the bottom. If I want to just show border for this one elevation and hit redraw, that's kind of what we've implemented. Now the problem is it didn't use that information that we saved. So let's get back to this border stuff. Okay, so it kept all that. Create border DWG. Now that should be, oh yeah, so it knows. Oh, so the edit save button here is just, it's opening the CAD program that we've associated to it. So the and again, it's kind of slow opening up the first time. So here's the border, and it's got the things filled in. I can zoom in here. So the project name, contractor. I didn't fill these things out in the other thing, but so it's definitely saved it and opened it here. Now, one thing I can do is you saw how we could just go and open up an elevation file, right? So we could say open. It's almost like I have to double click that. That's kind of weird. Because when we just opened that, there were no blocks here. The blocks are created when we hit the shop drawing feature. So I can go here to the multiple elevate. Oh, there's the border. So now it created the border. So I can, the border's already open. I can open my multiple elevations. And that's a separate file though. So remember how we have to move these around a little bit. Now these are blocked. So I'm going to move this up here. I just want to get them close again. This one over here. So now what I'm going to do is select, I can hit Control A or I can do that. I'm going to copy these and then I'm going to go back to border window and then I'm going to paste them. So this is where I want to hit zoom extents too. Where was that? I'm going to right click and do it. Zoom extents. Okay. Well, clearly I should have played with that more. So for some reason my border's gone. Interesting. Yeah, now I have two sets of the 3 elevations. Okay, I'm going to close this. Here's another option. So you'll have to play with, let's see, show border, redraw. There we go. So I just had to redraw. Once it saved it, it filled in everything. So now I should be able to, with this border, I can do this. I can go to CAD. And now the problem is the border is not working with the shop drawing tool right now. So it's kind of one or the other. And as I say, the border saved as a DWG file. I think what it might have done was covered up. It's kind of like that when you're in a drawing program and it puts something behind and something in front. Might have to start playing with those features on it. So one option is, let's see here. I might have to, let me hit Control A. I'm going to explode this. And then I'm going to move this elevation drawing around. And, oops, so I'm going to select that. So if I wanted to, I should be able to do this. Now notice that the blocks are over there now, which is good. What is this, my first elevation? So I'm going to push it up here at the top. So now I can go ahead and go over here like I was going to work with the blocks before. I can go ahead and just insert this block here, and then I can take the third elevation, insert this one here. So that's pretty easy, right? So same thing with the details. Now the details are scaled a lot differently. Remember how they were so small? So I can bring those in just like that. I can select those. Let me try the scale now. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I could swear that scale stuff was working before. But what we can do here is look for the, I'm looking for the little tool that lets me drag it. Yeah, to make them bigger. It lets you do it when it's individual. That's strange. So I can individually make these bigger, I guess. So anyway, I'm making these bigger right now. So this is how we're, now I'm going to zoom extents again to see everything in the window. So you can see how we're getting a lot more of an actual shop drawing. I can go here. We're definitely out of time now. So the next video is going to be taking this a step further and working with text and then figuring out the printing aspect. So printing is not, the one surefire way to print something like this is just to have it fit the page. It's not going to do it to scale, but it is going to fit the page. Because if this is set up as 11 by 17 and you need to print it on 8.5 by 11, it's never going to be to scale anyway. So, so fitting the page would at least get you what you see here. So keep that in mind. And go ahead and send me a question. I do have one here, so let me take that. But definitely check our website. We'll have another webinar next month, and I'll continue on with the CAD stuff. Thanks for joining us today, and I'll go ahead and answer these questions. Thanks.